Invito ahora a la conferencia.
I now invite the conference to turn to document A-Conf 226L3, containing the draft report of the conference. In this connection, I give the floor to the Rapporteur General, Mr. Mamadou Mbodj from Senegal, to introduce the draft report of the conference. Thank you, Madam President. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to introduce the draft report of the United Nations Conference on Housing and Sustainable Urban Development, Habitat 3, as contained in document A-Conf 226L3. The draft report contains 8 chapters. Chapter 1 is resolutions adopted at the conference. Chapter 2 is organization of work and other organizational matters, which includes the opening and duration of the conference, the election of the president and other officers of the conference, the adoption of the rules of procedure, adoption of the agenda and organization of work, and the participation in the conference. Chapter 3 is the general debate. Chapter 4 deals with the report of the round tables. Chapter 5, the report of the Credentials Committee. Chapter 6, on the adoption of the final outcome of the conference. Chapter 7 deals with the adoption of the report of the conference. And Chapter 8, closure of the conference. In Chapter 1, the following resolutions just adopted at the conference will be included, namely, the resolution entitled New Urban Agenda, as contained in document A/Conf 226L1. With the adoption of this resolution, the full text of the outcome document of the conference contained in document A/Conf 226/4, entitled New Urban Agenda, will be included in the final report. The resolution entitled Expression of Thanks to the People and the Government of Ecuador, as contained in document A/Conf 226/L2, will be included in the final report, and the resolution entitled Credentials of Representatives to the United Nations Conference on Housing and Sustainable Urban Development, as contained in document A/Conf 226/8, which will also be included in the final report. Chapter 2, Section B, on attendance at the conference, will be completed after the conference to reflect the final participation in the conference. Also, the election of the additional vice presidents that took place at the 7th plenary meetings will be added. Chapter 3 on the general debate will be finalized to reflect the representatives of 107 stakes and 51 observers of intergovernmental organizations, United Nations system organizations, as well as local authorities and non-governmental organizations who made statements during the 1st through 8th plenary meetings as reflected in the conference journal, as well as the summaries of the statements made at these meetings. Similarly, in Chapter 4, report of the roundtables, the list of speakers of the 1st through 6th roundtables as reflected in the conference journal, and the summaries of all 6 roundtables we have just heard from their co-chairs will also be included in the final report. Chapter 5 will be completed to reflect the information contained in the report of the Credentials Committee. The report, which I'm honored to present to you for consideration, will also be updated to reflect any statements made at this closing meeting. Finally, a list of documents before the conference will be incorporated as an annex to the final report. President, that concludes my introduction, and I have the honor to submit to the conference the draft report for its adoption and to seek the authorization of the conference to finalize the report and submit it to the General Assembly. Madam President, if you will allow me, I would like to take this formal opportunity to express my profound gratitude to the conference for the trust placed in me to act as Rapporteur General for the conference, which my country attaches great importance to. I would also like to take the opportunity to convey my thanks to the government of Ecuador for the warm welcome extended to our delegation. And I would like to thank the Secretary General of the conference and his team and all members of the Bureau of the Preparatory Committee, with whom we have worked for 2 years thoroughly and in cooperation to reach today the result we now see, which is the satisfactory conclusion of negotiations on the document which has just been adopted by acclamation and with no reservations. I am very pleased as well to express the support of my government and in particular my delegation headed by the Minister for Urban Renovation, Habitat and Quality of Life, which deserves my gratitude as well. I would also like to thank the UN Office of Addis Ababa, Nairobi and New York, and obviously I would also like to commend all representatives of the civil society organizations, intergovernmental organizations and UN system organizations that have so much supported us during this process. And of course, the members of the Secretariat of the Department of the General Assembly in charge of conferences. And those are the points I would like to present to the conference. Thank you, Madam President, for your attention.